You are an evolutionary empath. The world needs your gifts. Hello, sensitive souls, and welcome to my Evolutionary Empath podcast. I'm Stephanie Redfeather, author of the upcoming book, The Evolutionary Empath, which hits shelves on November 5th. And you can pre-order a copy now on my website at bluestartemple.org or through your favorite bookseller. And if you go to my website, be sure to download your free copy of my Evolutionary Empath Activation Manual. I am so excited to be here with you because this is the debut episode. And if you're an empath, and I imagine you are, otherwise you wouldn't be listening, then this series has a wealth of information, insights, and tools for embracing life and thriving as an empath. Today's topic: what is an empath? And what is an evolutionary empath? And what does daily life look like? Be sure to listen at the end of this episode for your self-care tip of the week. So let me get right to it. What is an empath? There's a simple answer and a complex answer. The simplest description, the one most commonly used in everyday conversation, is that an empath is a highly sensitive person. And this is fairly accurate as far as shorthand goes, but so much more is implied. When you start breaking down what an empath is into specific qualities, then it gets more involved. And I'll be covering different aspects of this broader definition of an empath throughout this podcast series, along with tools and practices and mindsets for thriving as a sensitive soul. Today, I want to focus more on the everyday experiences we have as empaths so you can look at your own life for clues. It is important to understand that until we recognize, acknowledge, and accept that we are an empath, then we are living life as an unconscious empath. As an unconscious empath, we're still an empath. We just don't know that we are. And so this predisposes us to live from the unhealthy or shadow aspects of being an empath. And so I'm going to highlight 6 common patterns that we often experience as unconscious empaths. And as I describe them, I invite you to see if you can identify with any of these patterns in your own life, whether you're looking at patterns that were true in the past for you or patterns that are presently true for you. So when we're an empath and we don't know it, we tend to take on everyone else's emotions and problems and think that they are our own. So for example, you're having a fine and dandy normal day, then you go to the grocery store and absorb what everyone else is feeling, and as you travel up and down the aisles, you're all of a sudden getting more cranky and irritable or emotional or angry, and by the time you leave the store, you are a hot mess wondering what hit you. Has this ever happened to you before? Another example: you come home from work completely drained, exhausted, overwhelmed, anxious, and you think that's just the normal state of things because it happens every day. And you're not realizing that you're dragging home everybody else's energetic dross. Another example of this would be feeling the pain, the sadness, indecision, anger of a loved one, and then believing it is your responsibility to fix their situation or that somehow you are responsible for how they feel. The second experience that we commonly have as an unconscious empath is that we tend to lose ourselves in relationship. Now, this shows up in multiple ways, including dropping entire aspects of our personality, losing our ability to know what we want or stand up for ourselves, and taking on the other person's habits, beliefs, or personality traits. So let me give you an example from my own life. In dating my first husband, I was pretty bold, strong, unafraid to share my opinions and beliefs. But then, we date, we get engaged, we get married, a few years go by, and I remember my ex saying, "What happened to the woman who used to be so outspoken?" At that time, I was definitely still in the unconscious years, and so the best answer I could give was, well, there's more at stake now, or more risk if I say the wrong thing. I had no idea that I had started suppressing what I deemed to be the most potentially alienating or offensive behaviors in favor of the ones that were more people-pleasing or had the greatest chance of keeping the peace and harmony. And so, yes, I am a recovering people-pleaser. So all you people-pleasers out there, raise your hand and say with me, "Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a recovering people-pleaser." So, can you think of any relationships where you submerged parts of your personality or lost the ability to stand up for yourself or started becoming more like the other person? All right, the third experience that we have very frequently as unconscious empaths is that we have trouble drawing boundaries and we frankly suck at saying no. So, what does this come from? We are so used to blending and merging with everyone and everything. We have no idea where we end and the next person begins. So this shows up as being unable to determine when somebody has invaded our personal space or our emotional space. We can't tell when someone has overstepped their bounds or if we're offended by something. And even if we can recognize it, we often don't know how to say no or how to ask them to take a step back. So having trouble drawing boundaries shows up as being a doormat and doing what everybody else wants and not standing up for ourselves, not speaking our truth, not asking for what we need. So can you identify times in your life when this was true for you? And I hear the collective head nod because this is such a big one for so many of us. The fourth quality that often occurs for us as unconscious empaths is that we overgive, over-deliver, we put everyone else first, which means we put ourselves last. And so this can look like giving until you are completely depleted, have nothing left in the tank. You're sacrificing things that are important to you because somebody else needs you or somebody else wants to do a different activity. And it can also look like feeling that you don't deserve to take care of yourself. Now, let me be clear that in and of itself, being a giving person, a person with a big heart, a person who loves to be of service, that's not a bad thing, but it's all about balance. It's all about your own personal energetic bank account. And if you're depleted all the time, then you are too focused on the output and not focused on enough input or doing what fills you up. So if unchecked, this pattern of overgiving and putting everyone else first causes severe burnout and resentment. And oftentimes we are so nice and concerned with making everybody else happy that our resentment and frustration builds in the shadows, and we don't even know it's there until one day it boils up to the surface and we explode in some way or another, and everyone else around us is looking at us with wide eyes and disbelief. So does any of that resonate for you in your life experiences? The fifth quality that is very common when we're an empath but don't know that we are is that we are intimidated or frightened by our intuition or our ability to connect with the unseen realms. This is a really big one. And by connecting with the unseen realms, let me give you some examples. I mean, experiences like seeing or talking to the dead, being able to communicate with animals, plants, trees, rocks, knowing something is going to happen before it does, having encounters with the paranormal, or being able to leave your body and travel around. There are many examples of this. So what were your experiences as a child? As empaths, it is easy for us to tune into and move around in these subtle realms. But so often it is the case that no one else believed us or knew how to guide us. Was that true for you? Because it sure was for me. And as a result, I can tell you I have talked to countless empaths who ended up cutting themselves off from their gifts of perception, burying them deep in their subconscious. They were judged by their family and friends and teachers and church and society. And so they just completely buried those parts of themselves, and a lot of times won't even talk about those gifts or abilities or perceptions with other people. So what are some of the ways that you chose to cope? The sixth experience that we often have as unconscious empaths is that we struggle with our sense of identity and we don't really know who we are. And so it helps to understand that our, quote, natural state as an empath is to blend and merge with other life forms. Okay, this is one of our gifts. It is our ability to identify with other people. But in the unconscious years, we probably don't feel like it's a gift. It probably feels like a curse. So more than just compassion, more than just sympathy, we can actually take ourselves out of our bodies, plop ourselves inside somebody else's life, and feel everything they feel. And we can see everything from their perspective. And so it's easy to take on their emotions and problems like they are our own. Because of that, we can't distinguish what is our own. We can't figure out where we end and the next person begins. So can you look at that? Do you see these types of experiences in your life? Because it is so easy for us to do this, that we often spend decades so identified with the people that we're close to that our own center is vacant. Okay, so in the unconscious years, we don't even know we're doing it. And so staying grounded, staying in our own center, having a sense of self, knowing who we are and what we want, those are difficult for us as an empath, especially in the early years. Is any of that true for you? Do you struggle to stay in your center? Do you have a strong sense of self or really don't? A lot of times our sense of self is based on who we are in relationship to another person, as opposed to who we are in our own sovereign space. And so I know for myself, I pegged every one of these experiences earlier in life, and I have worked hard to learn to draw boundaries and to figure out who I am and to have a sense of self and to trust myself. So if you have had any of these experiences, I get you. Okay, I have been there. I know what it is like, and you are not alone. It's one of the reasons I wrote this book. And you're not crazy. That's actually the title of the first chapter of my book, You Are Not Crazy. I know it's frustrating that as empaths, we have had to experience years or decades in this painful and confusing unconscious state. But I have some perspective that I think will help you. And it's this. You're not just an empath. You are an evolutionary empath. The occurrence of sensitive souls like you and me on this planet is not a random event. More and more of us are incarnating every day, and we have a collective purpose. Are you ready for it? Empaths are here to help humanity ascend to the next level of consciousness. Let me say that again. Empaths are here to help humanity ascend to the next level of consciousness. So take a moment to sit with that statement. Is there a truth in it that resonates for you? Connect in with your higher self, your soul, the blueprint of this incarnation, and ask yourself if this awakens a remembering. We are the way showers. We are the new human blueprint. And while we might currently be the anomaly and feel vastly out of place in current society, We are the upgraded version of the human design. Someday, I like to think that empath won't even be a word or a concept because it will just be the way everyone is, and we won't need to define it anymore, like explaining water to a fish. It'll just be the air we breathe. So, does this grander mission make your childhood traumas any less painful? No. Does this make your relationship breakups any less traumatic? No. Does it make the frustration and confusion and aloneness that you probably felt any better? No. But I am here to commend the courage of your soul, because collectively we are the empathic Big Bang. Those of us here on the planet now, and the intrepid spirits who came in the decades before us with empathic qualities, all of us together collectively are the empathic Big Bang. There's a quote from the movie Moneyball that says, "The first guy through the wall always gets bloodied." That's us, okay? Just have to be honest. We are collectively the first ones through the wall. We are the ones breaking the way and getting bloodied. But we're doing it for a reason, okay? Even though we didn't have the parents or the teachers or mentors who recognized our sensitivities or knew what tools to teach us to thrive or could even identify what we were experiencing, we still bravely chose to come here at this time in human history to pave the way for the legions of empaths coming up behind us. So bravo, my friend. Now, if you would like to continue working with today's material, I invite you over the next week to look back through your life and journal about the empathic experiences that you had. What patterns did you notice in relationship? What aspects of your gifts have you hidden? What coping mechanisms have you employed to deal with your sensitivities? In your dream time or meditation, consider sitting with what it means to be an evolutionary empath, one who is here on purpose to help humanity evolve in consciousness. What does that mean to you? How does that inform your life? Okay, friends, so we're coming to the end of the show, and it's time for your self-care tip of the week. Breath is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools we possess for moving energy. This week's tip is a technique to use your out-breath to clear your energy field and release the disharmonious energies into the earth. So let me explain it, and then we'll do it together. I take in a deep breath. And then on the exhale, I breathe out slowly and deliberately, and I imagine a fine mesh filter starting at the top of my head and moving all the way down my body, collecting any and all energies that are not serving me. So this could be emotions that latched on to me from other people. It could be energy in my own field that got stuck. It could be stress accumulating from the day. It could be just random energetic particles like dust gathering on your furniture. Use whatever visualization works for you. So you might imagine angels brushing you with their wings, or standing under a calm waterfall, or even a gentle rake combing through your field. And I always think of those automatic cat litter box cleaners that every so often has a little rake that runs across the surface. So then as you exhale, you want to let Mother Earth take every bit of these energetic waste products. And if the idea of giving waste products to her makes you feel uncomfortable, like you're flushing the toilet on Mother Earth, remember that the waste product of one life force is food for another. So the waste product of human respiration is carbon dioxide. But for things that conduct photosynthesis, like plants and trees, they need carbon dioxide to live. Their waste product is oxygen, which we need to live. So don't think of it as dumping on Mother Earth, okay? Big Mama can take it, and she wants to take it for you. And she will turn your energetic waste into fertilizer and move it wherever it needs to go. So she is your ally in this process. So let's do this exercise together. Usually I close my eyes and I'm either standing or sitting upright with my arms and legs uncrossed. So adjust your posture as needed and take in a deep breath. And breathe out slowly and deliberately, visualizing or feeling the process you've chosen for clearing your field from top to bottom and letting it be carried to Mother Earth to dispose of. Let's do this 2 more times. Breathe in deep and breathe out deliberately. And sometimes I'll notice that I'll shiver or shake or even make a bit of sound as I breathe out. And I'm registering that these disharmonious energies are leaving my field, and that often shows up in my body. So 1 more time. Exhaling, releasing any last bits like wringing out a sponge. And really, that's all there is to it. It is a simple yet powerful process. Now, be sure to practice this method daily during the week, and I would recommend several times a day if you can. And let me know how it goes. I want to hear your comments and experiences on my Facebook page, so you can find me on Facebook through the Facebook link on my website. And I'll be doing this technique along with you, and so I'll share my experiences during the next episode. So that wraps it up for today. Remember at the beginning of the show when I said there's a simple definition and a complex definition of what an empath is? Be sure to tune in next week when I will be going into greater detail on the definition of an empath and breaking down what I've identified as the 5 qualities of an empath. I'm Stephanie Redfeather, and if you want to find out more about me, my upcoming book, The Evolutionary Empath, or my other products and services, please go to my website at bluestartemple.org. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. Remember, my fellow sensitive souls, you are an evolutionary empath. The world needs your gifts.